What is going on, guys? Tyson back with you for another day of fun in the sun. Today we're over in Tempe, Arizona, and I'm here with Jim Decker, founder of Soul Beach Cruisers out here in Tempe. How long have you been doing this with your shop?
Since 2011.
And you've been doing all kinds of cool stuff. So we were at the shop earlier, got to check out the inner workings there. We've got all kinds of frame sizes and accessories and custom work there. So these bikes are hand built right here in Tempe, right down to even like CNC work on some of the parts. Let's check this out. So this bike we're looking at today, this is the Sonic Stomper SS, when SS is super soul, right? And this is premium, top of the line cruiser material right here. They spared no expense on all the different components. We've got these awesome aggressive fat tires here, 26x4 on those, and the motor here, this is a mid-drive Bafang motor, and it is the, oh man, is it the BB SHD03, is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a third generation, and you've been over to the Bafang factory, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They do really cool things over there.
Yeah.
Down to electronics to motor building, it's all hand built over there.
And not even just the Bafang factory, but Jim's been over to Shanghai a whole bunch of times for different factory visits. You got to go to, what was that place where you get the steel cranks done?
Over to Samex. I've been over to, well, before that, V Tire down in Thailand. I've been to Tektro, been to the saddle manufacturer, the billet manufacturer. I've been all over the place.
Just everywhere. And so really getting into the nitty and gritty of the behind the scenes for, you know, where parts come from, how they're produced. And they've got a few different, I guess you could say, generations of this bike, but something that's I think really cool about it is you can really get it custom fitted for, you know, maybe your size, or you know, if you're living in a place where you have some regulations on your motor power. You know, the one that we're looking at on the model right here, this is a 1,000 watt nominal up to about 1,480 watt peak mid-drive here. That is a ton of power. We'll push this all the way up to 28 miles per hour, which, you know, class 3 speed pedelec very easily. But if you live somewhere like, say, California, where you have to be a little bit less powerful on your motor, you can drop that down to 750 or even 500 watts. You can, you know, if you don't want the throttle on it, you can get rid of that. You even had, like, you have a customer that wanted the motor inhibitors taken off the brakes. So kind of, if you're more used to BMX riding and that kind of stuff, a little bit more aggressive.
We're custom hand built, so we can tailor it anyway. You know, cutoffs, no cutoffs, pedal assist, no pedal assist, throttle only. It's pretty much wide open.
That's awesome. So let's get a closer look at the tires here. So these are Veet Speedster tires, and 26 by 3.5, as you can see there. We've got them mounted on 4-inch rims here. Nice punch outs here that helps to reduce the weight, and these tires do come with some puncture protection. They come with slime sealant in there. Awesome if you're riding a place like this, or you might run into goat heads or other things like that. I do appreciate those punch outs to help keep the weight down, and the frame is surprisingly lightweight when I was lifting it in the shop, because they had some spare ones there. You do have a pretty heavy bike here. You're looking at about 72 pounds for, you know, as you see it equipped here, which, you know, isn't the heaviest we've seen. It's still up there quite a bit, but you've got that 1,000 watt motor on there, so the weight is no problem for it, even accelerating up hills. And I do just want to point out this mid-drive motor. This is pretty unique on a cruiser. You know, we've looked at all kinds of electric cruiser bikes, and most commonly you see a rear hub motor, but don't have that here. Jim, why no hub motor? Why'd you decide to go with the mid-drive?
Well, we want to be more performance-based, and you know, with the mid-drive, it actually powers a drivetrain. It's a little bit more efficient. We're able to get more power out of it, and overall, it's a better power delivery system.
And I agree that like you can save costs with having the rear hub motor, but the performance you get out of the mid-drive is just awesome. We're connected to a Sturmey Archer SX RK3 hub back here. This is an internally geared hub with 3 speeds on it. So if you're wanting to change those, that is this twist shifter on the handlebar right here. And a setup like this, you think of that, it's very similar to a car. You want to shift down to first when you're getting started, and then shift up as you get going. You got to make sure you stop pedaling when you shift on these. Otherwise you're going to get some, what does happen if you don't shift, or if you pedal while you're shifting on these?
Well, it won't downshift to start off.
It won't?
With.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And then inside the Planticades, there's some prongs in there, and this hub really isn't designed for big power. So under 5 to maybe 700 watts, you can upshift. But once you get it north of a 1,000, you're going to want to stop pedaling and let the hub shift on its own without that power to it.
All right, so let's, while we're talking about drivetrain stuff here, we've got a nice sturdy, this is an e-bike ready chain, and look at this chain ring. It's got the narrow wide teeth on it that helps it to grip the chain a lot better. 42 teeth on the steel chain ring here, and this chain ring is interchangeable. So if you're not happy with the 42 tooth setup on here, you can get that swapped out. What kind? I think it used to be a little bigger, right? And you say it was like a 46 is the standard?
It comes with a standard steel stamped 46 with the package, so we put an interchangeable 42 on it. So we found out that 42 produces a lot of low end power for even larger guys north of 200 pounds, and still not sacrificing any of the top end. So if you want to plan on doing some sand dune riding, I mean, we can drop that down even further, go up a few teeth in the front, or I'm sorry, in the rear, and go do some real riding.
Awesome. And so we'll be showing you that ride footage in just a little bit. These things are just an absolute blast to ride. The power from that motor is, it just, for me, it feels off the charts. You know, my bike at home is a hub motor, which, I mean, I think is great. It gets the job done, but it doesn't have that raw power. It just takes off the line like these do. You can really see, looking at the bike, there is a lot of BMX and motocross influence in here. I mean, the handlebars, great example. Check this out. BMX handlebars here with a, it's like a billet clamp, is that what that's called?
Billet top clamp and billet triple clamps.
Yes, the triple clamps. We got to get a good shot of this. So check this out. And they do all the CNC work for these right in their shop. Awesome, huge 2 inches on that fork. That is just massive. And you can even customize these. So we were looking at pictures of a bike that they had a fella come in that was about 6'9". And so then you guys just like raised that up and made it work.
A little bit longer fork legs for them. We put some extra spacers in the top plate to get that riding position up for them.
It's just awesome. The personal touches on this bike is what really stands out to me. I love the artwork on it. They even add these, what'd you call these here?
These are just axle spikes.
Yeah, just a little bit of personality to it. They're not as sharp as they look. They're pretty blunt on the end, so you don't have to worry about slicing somebody open or anything like that. Just adds a little bit of style to it, and a nice comfortable ride on this bike too. Of course, you have the fat tires. Those are great for comfort as it is. And then the saddle is a nice touch here. This is a oversized Grand Star saddle. You've got the quilted leather top here, several layers of foam, rubber bumpers underneath, and then the Soul Beach Cruisers logo on the back here is actually reflective. So if you're riding at night, that lights up pretty bright. And speaking of lights, riding at night, that kind of a thing, we don't have them mounted on the bike right here. There's no integrated lights, of course, as you can see. But if you get one of these bikes, then Jim sets you up with a LED recharge, or excuse me, a USB rechargeable light that you can mount on your front handlebars, and then also another light that you can mount just on the back of the seat post here. So no integration on it, but you know, they set you up with everything you need for riding at night. And the purpose for that, we were talking earlier, is basically just like you want all the power going to the drivetrain, and that's it.
We want to save all the battery power for the power department of the motor, so less strain from a battery. We can achieve bigger lumas from USB chargeable bolt-on lights.
And so just be aware of that if you're going to be riding it. Just, you know, gotta remember, turn on your lights manually if you're riding at night. This is another cool personal touch here. Just both of the tires, or both of the wheels have just the one set of spokes with the red caps on them there. And we'll pop this off so you can take a look. This is just protecting the mechanisms for shifting. I might need to let you do that. And that's just keeping everything safe there. That is, of course, for shifting for that internally geared rear hub there. And also back here, we've got a chain tensioner that is custom designed and built here from Soul Beach Cycles. And I might have to move around here so that you can really get a look at that. Mounted right here. And so you can just tighten that up on the outside here to keep the chain tight. And when you have that for easy tightening, plus the narrow wide teeth on that front chain ring, and you know, it's in terms of what the chain has to change to, it's like it's a single speed. So that makes it stay nice and stable on there. Don't need really any kind of a chain guard to keep it from jumping off, because it's already rock solid on there. Something else that I wanted to point out with the frame here, there's so many cool custom design things going on here. You can see the cutouts that we've got going on for branding and stuff, and then we've got some extra stuff in here, which you're saying that's for, like, basically adds stability to the frame, right? And some strength?
Well, most of the support gussets here are all CNC water jetted plates. So once you start putting 90-degree support gussets in, it makes the weld 3 times stronger than the weld itself. So aesthetically, it gives it a cool look, but we're also able to achieve super rigidness.
All right, guys, so Now, before we get too carried away, I'm so excited. We've been riding these bikes around. They're a ton of fun. So let's talk about price before we get into it. We're looking at $48.95 as shown for this one. You do get some extra accessories along. We mentioned the lights, and then you also get one of these cup holders, which is just another one of those things that's custom built here. You can see they got even the emboss of the Soul right there for Soul Beach Cruisers. Pretty solid warranty here with this. So lifetime on both the frame and the fork against any kind of defects. That is awesome, which, you know, you guys make them yourself, so you know that they're rock solid. And you get 2-year warranty on the motor from Bafang and a year warranty on the battery. They're using Samsung cells here, so top of the line quality there. And most of these components, since they're high-end one, have their own, year or maybe even 2-year warranty on them. And there's some other stuff like the grips and things like that that don't come with their own warranty, but they cover it. Soul Beach Cruisers covers that for a year. You know, they've ridden these bikes all over the place and know what they're capable of. So you get an awesome coverage on that. And then you also get, they have some options for like a lifetime maintenance package. How does that work?
Well, our lifetime tune-ups is covered if you purchase the bike direct from us in Tempe. We have scheduled tune-up days to get your bike in, and then anytime something doesn't sound right or you just feel you need adjustment, you just bring it in.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's great for peace of mind if you live around here and you're able to bring it back in for that. And if you want to order this somewhere else, it's available around the US. They can ship that to you. You'd be looking at the pretty standard, maybe 190 to 220-ish range on the shipping. And they ship nearly fully assembled, is what you were telling me. I think the front wheel is off, is that right?
Well, the forks are a little tricky to put on, so we're going to use our techs to put the forks on. We usually consolidate a bike down as small as we can to get it in a box, but with a machine like this, the forks are going to be on it with the fork crowns, the triple clamp. So basically it's just put the front wheel on. If we're shipping on a pallet, the handlebars will be on. If not, you put the handlebars on, make sure the battery's charged up, check your tire pressure, and you're riding.
You were just off to the races. Tire pressure on these, I don't think we mentioned that earlier, but it's standard for a fat tire, 5 to 30 PSI range, and you would of course drop it down to that lower end, 5 to 10-ish to, if you want to tackle some, really deep sand, snow, anything like that. But thanks to the tread on these, you don't really have to go down that much for sand and trail, kind of this sort of more like a sandy little bit of gravel trail that we've been on out here. Great performance out of those. $48.95 is for some a pretty steep price point, but just know what you're getting into with this because you have premium top-of-the-line components across the board here. We're going to get this turned around so that we can talk a little bit about the brake system and a little bit more of the drivetrain. Alrighty guys, so we got turned around here so we can show you some more stuff here. The brakes on this bike, these are TRP. Now, TRP is like the flagship company or brand for Tektro. So if you're familiar with Tektro brakes, this is their top-of-the-line stuff, the TRP Zurich. Down here, we have got quad piston calipers here, and on this bike right now, we've got 203 millimeter rotors, which to me, that's already huge, but they're gonna get even bigger is what Jim was telling me. We're moving up to the 225?
Yeah, we got some special edition 225s currently being made. Unfortunately, they're not on these current production bikes, but they will be sent out for anyone that purchased one.
It's awesome. So even more stopping power, more than we've already got here. I'll give you another look at that motor here, just so you can see how it mounts there. Do you ever have any worries or problem with it just getting bumped or hitting rocks or something like that when you're out riding?
No, I personally I have not. No.
Yeah, I mean it looks like it's just almost bulletproof. Is really
well, we like
hefty.
to have that motor. Some of the motors are encased. We like having the motor exposed because it does have cooling fins on there, and cooling is a big factor. Heat is the battery's enemy. Heat is the motor's enemy. So the cooler we can actually operate the system, the more longevity you're going to have with the motor.
Speaking of cooling, I forgot to even say that. Looking at these calipers here for the brakes, check that out. We've got cooling fins right here. Helps to keep those from overheating so they'll perform well even if you're doing a lot of braking, which on something that can go 28 miles an hour, you're going to have to do some serious braking to stop here and there, especially with the bike weighing 72 pounds. We'll let you get a look at the one in the rear right here. And we've got, we do have a kickstand on here, and I'll try to adjust the camera so you can see. So this is a weld-mounted kickstand. That was another thing that we were talking about, basically just to make it a bit more stable, because a lot of bolt-on ones, especially with a bike this big, that can be a little bit of a, I guess, a stability
most
risk.
stuff that's bolt-on is bolted on, so it's subject to come loose. Where we're doing a weld-on kickstand, and it's a proven product. and it just works.
Really the only downside that I can point out on the kickstand, of course, I'm not going to put this down because we got it kind of delicately balanced here, but since it is center mounted, that means if you got the kickstand down, you're trying to back it up at a bike rack, maneuver it in the garage, you can hit that with the pedals, gets what's called pedal lock. And looking, while we got on this side, I want to talk about just the integration of the electronics. Absolutely beautiful. We have internally routed cabling, and really, I mean, check this out. You can see the cutout right here. So even on the front fork here, we've got the cable for the brake that's internally routed, more going here for battery and everything else. Gives it such a sleek look. And I mean, just look at the battery. That's it right here in the down tube. See, and I think we have it unlocked, so we'll find out here. Might not be. Okay, there we go. We'll pull this out so that you can take a look at this battery here. This is 48 volt, 14.5 amp hour. That gets you, that's about 700 watt hours. Awesome capacity on that. And the visual design on this, that is so cool. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier, the way that they get this to look so good. Can you run me through that process? You like get the battery and have to do some work and send it back?
It's a little bit of a process. So we take the battery shell here and we take obviously the battery out. We have it color matched to the paint, and then it goes in for a watermark decal. So we actually put the housing back on the frame, put the decal on it, cut the decal, clear it, and then this goes back to the battery manufacturer to get the battery put in.
It's just absolutely beautiful, and you can stick that back in there if you want to. Oh, actually, wait, I was going to show I love the little readout that you got on it here. It might be a little bit hard for you guys to see in the light, but you press this button, and then based on the color that shows up there, that tells you how much charge you got left. Red, we're just about out on this one, green, pretty good, and then blue all the way full. And so that way you can check it really easily on the bike there. And I just love that that integration and how much work they go into to make it look really nice. Now back at the shop, they have a lot of their older generation ones where it wasn't quite as clean, or it's a more standard down tube where it's mounted on top of the down tube. Let's see, we're gonna jump into the cockpit here just so you guys can take a look. And the BMX style is awesome, a lot of fun to ride. Okay, here we got move that up a little bit. So this is your control pad here. You've got your up and down and a menu and then a power button here. We're gonna go ahead and fire that up. I'm gonna shade this so that you guys can see. The screen is just a little bit dim. I'm able to see it because they got good contrast ratios. It might be a little bit hard for you guys on the camera. That's really the only downside to it, is it doesn't get up too bright. Is there a way to change that in the settings, or is that as good as it gets?
Unfortunately not.
All right. No. All right, so you get all kinds of info on it. You get a clock too, which for some reason, very few LCDs have a clock on them. So I'm glad to see that. Voltage readout, current speed, motor wattage, and then you get a lot of extra readouts on the bottom here that you can cycle through hitting your power button. You can switch over and show your odometer and your current trip timer, and then you also get a range estimate. So not only do you get a precise battery readout, it doesn't have percentage numbers, but it's a really accurate graphic. So it's a lot better than 4 or 5 bars that we see, but you can also switch over and see the range estimate. That is awesome. You can also press the M on here and you can get to your average speed and then move that over to your top speed. So as you can see, 40 miles an hour, these bikes can really get going. You do of course have a walk mode, which you activate by holding the down arrow here, and then a feature on here that isn't used on this bike, I should say, you can even hold down plus, which will turn on headlights if those are integrated. All right guys, so moving over to the other side of the cockpit, this is the shifter here, twist shifter on the right hand grip. Sturmey Archer, they're the same, like we said, Sturmey Archer hub in the back. This is the shifter for it, 3 speeds on it. This is what we were talking about, where you want to think of this like a car. So when you're stopped, you want to have it down in first, and then you can shift up as you're going. The nice thing with these internally geared hubs like this is you can shift it, while you're sitting still. So if you stopped at the stoplight or something like that and you're still up in third, you can just bump, drop down to first without having to worry about being pedaling or anything like that. It's the other way around on this one. You don't want to pedal while you're shifting. And for providing electronic assistance here, so you got 2 options. You've got the throttle over here on the left-hand grip, trigger throttle. I'm going to bump this down. So yep, so trigger throttle, and this is a variable speed throttle. So you can, based on how hard you pressed on it, you can get more or less power. And the throttle is controlled by the level of pedal assist. So we can bump that up all the way up to level 5. and then that's going to give you a whole lot of throttle and also a whole lot of pedal assist. And for the pedal assist, that is powered by a cadence sensor down here. You can see it right here, sealed sensor, 12 magnets, great resolution, and it is really responsive. I was impressed with it. At even from a standstill, I was getting power about a half a revolution on the pedals, if that, and even at high speeds, kicks in right away. Is awesome. And we've already talked a little bit about the power on this thing. You can really feel that 1,000 watts. Now, fortunately, for the safety side of things, these brakes up here do have motor inhibitors built in. And as we mentioned, there's some customers that want those removed, have maybe a little bit more aggressive, or they come from a motocross background and they don't want to have that. So Jim and the guys can get that set up for you. The grips up here, it's like a foam, I guess I would say. Foam grips. And it feels so much like a BMX riding experience. It's like BMX motorcycle hybrid. The ride is just fantastic. And what's the, I guess, this is kind of a curveball, but what's the most extreme riding you've done on these?
I've done a little bit of single track riding. Up.
Oh, yeah. Man.
Yeah. So, it's a little on the bulky side, but, it's a performance bike. It's something that someone can really go out and push the limits on. And super rigid frame, top shelf premium components. And, when you really start pushing the bike hard, that's where it performs the best.
And we did a little bit of that already today. We're gonna have that footage for you later on in the video. We've been just tearing all over on the trails out here. And it's been mostly paved trail riding, so we didn't get too crazy with it, but we got going fast, and it is just absolutely rock solid. Getting up to 28 miles on this bike felt nice and easy and safe, where if you've ridden other speed pedelecs and stuff, especially some lighter weight ones, once you start getting into that 28 plus, so you're coasting down a hill and going faster, they can feel pretty wobbly, a lot of frame flex. This frame, no flex at all, just absolutely rock solid. And something we didn't talk, we pointed out the custom work on the CNC work on here, but this finish is actually a custom thing here too, with the gunmetal gray. We had some earlier versions that were black, right? And then you guys were like, hey, we can make this a lot cooler looking.
Yeah, we did just straight billet with a little bit of polish on it, and did some black anodizing, but at the end of the day we decided to zig and zag and come out with something unique and different,
which is great. And that's really, I think that is sums up this bike more than anything else. It's just unique and different. It has so much personality and just, I guess, flair. And so we're looking at this one right now. There's really only one frame size. I mean, I take that with a grain of salt, because if you need a different size frame, you can certainly do that. I've actually got some really cool chopper style stretched out bikes back at the shop, but for the SS, the Stomper SS, you're looking at the one frame size and then all kinds of different colors. We've got another one over here so you guys can check out one of their other popular colors here. And I mean, really the sky's the limit on the colors on these, right?
Well, we're doing kind of limited production colors. We have a lot of available colors, but we want to kind of keep the bikes unique and different. This two-tone baby blue and orange is really super striking. We have the Black Diamond bike. It's all blacked out, really super aggressive. And then we have a Stormtrooper here that's just super eye-catching. It has that Miami Vice whiteout, Range Rover look. It's just very, very classy.
The one I want to see, I saw this on your website, but it's sold out, is that oil slick color. That is, are you guys going to be bringing that back, or was that just kind of a special thing?
Well, the oil slick is for my steel frame pedal models, because we can't, the oil slick is a chrome based bike, and we can't chrome T6 aluminum. So that's a steel frame bike, chrome plated. We put a special chemical on it and cook it on, and it changes the module structure of the chrome.
Awesome. So if you're hoping for an oil slick Stomper like I was for one of these SS's, then sorry, can't get that, but that's all right. What's going on, guys? Just wanted to give you a look at this in action. We got that 42 tooth steel chainring up here connected to that geared hub in the back, Sturmy Archer. We're gonna start off in level 5 here so you can see that power too. Now, just on the throttle here, Man, we're going straight across? All right.
We'll pick up the other trail here. I'm in no hurry to get back to work.
I bet. Woo! Woo!
How you guys doing?
Good, we're lost.
Where are you going?
Oh, we found it.
Oh.
Scared the bejeebus out of that snake.
Yeah. He heard the humming.
Oh, that was good. Oh yeah, it's a beautiful spot.
Dude, I haven't been up here in close to 20 years.
All right, guys, so that about does it for today. We've been checking out the Sonic Stomper SS, the Super Soul from Soul Beach Cruisers. And if you are around Tempe or you're ever out here, I just want to say you should check this place out. We're out in Papago Park where we've been cruising around. Beautiful scenery, great trails. The zoo is right over there as well, so you can check that out. And for this bike, we have, of course, got the full write-up back at electricbikereview.com. We've got all the specs on it. And if you have questions about this bike, or you've owned one, or just have any thoughts on it, we encourage you to share. You can comment here in the comments section. We've got comments section back at our site. And then we have also got our forum, where we've got a sub-forum set up for Soul Beach Cruisers, so feel free to chime in there and tell us what you think. All right, guys, we'll see you next time, and as always, ride safe.